Hello, this is Pat Walker, Mission Winners, doing a video overview of the ETFs. This is the weekly and this is the daily. And this is First Trust Dorsey Wright. You can see it's technology related. It says so, tech stocks. It's lifted up, but notice this, it fell on pretty good volume on Thursday and it came back on less volume. But it's still above the moving averages, and it tells us one thing. Technologies may be an area to look into. The trend is up. Look at the weekly. This is why I love to look at both weekly and daily. I encourage everybody, when you're running your screens, have weekly on the left and daily on the right. It will really help you. You look at this and say, yeah, it's all right, but you look here and go, man, that's been a strong trend for a while. Looking at this, by the way, tells you one thing. That's why we are involved in tech stocks, big time, and have been for a while. Some of them since last year. Let's continue onwards here. Gold miners lifting up here nicely on the weekly and the daily. See that base right there? You can watch this, I'll do something. You say, gosh, there's a line there. I guess if it takes that out on volume, maybe we should look into some gold mining stocks. And it lifted, and it did. There you go. GLD, same situation. Strong on the weekly, and then look at the daily. You see how it lifted across that line? Right there in the volume pickup? We were buying and bought a couple of times GLD, and it's working. Now, I'm not saying buy it now, but I am saying there's proof in the pudding of the tactics. Looked good on the weekly, looks good on the daily. Volume's coming into it, coming across tops. It's a buy. Done. Biotechnology, in 1 second it says stay away from biotech. Don't overthink it, or maybe it's going to bounce. We buy strength. We don't have to look around and wait. There's nothing there, leave it alone. Continue onwards. This is oil and gas, and it's been trending nicely. Look at the weekly base breakout right here, and I'll draw this for you to help you. Mission Winners, this is what we do. And by the way, I was an IBD co-leader for 12 years and taught this on the stage for 12 years every month. And you can see this is working nicely. It's trending here, and look at the weekly or the daily trend. This is the 8-period exponential moving average, folks, and that is a thing of beauty. That's a trend for you. I'm not saying buy it up here, it's extended, but if you got in earlier, you're in great shape. Let it work and see what happens. Continue onwards. Technology, software, a little sloppy here. Be careful with software. Move on. Medicine, a little sloppy on the weekly and the daily. Be a little careful with that. Aerospace and defense isn't too bad. Trending decent on the daily, trending nicely on the weekly. You could punch up ITA and find out what their top holdings are. The one negative is this, and I'll get rid of this for right now, and I apologize. Right here, it's a little extended. This is a very important maxim that I taught for years. Don't chase, please don't chase extended stocks or ETFs. Don't chase price. It can cost you money. It can cost you, so we don't do that. All right, home construction has been rallying steadily, but it's gotten a little sloppier recently. By the way, home construction, home building, they don't like rising interest rates, okay? Just know that. S&P 500 growth trending nicely on the weekly and on the daily. Serious selling right here, though. Says, oh, got to be a little cautious. I'm not done talking about that either. You'll see more. IWM, it's okay, but look where it gapped down here, and then it reversed and fell again, and it really hasn't shown much power. So be careful. Be a little cautious with the small caps. Real estate, stay away. There's nothing to do with it. Look at what it's doing here on the weekly. Look at what it's doing on the daily. That's not good. Be cautious. Transportation, it's just basing. It's not really doing anything. It's basing. You say, well, let's buy some. It could go back and forth for weeks, months, and then you're stuck in it. Focus on strength. It will really help you. Continue onward. Airlines, there's not a lot of power in jets. Airlines, leave it alone. Mid-cap, kind of slopping around here. There's not a lot of power with mid-caps. Please note, I'm not being negative at all. I love buying stocks, but I want to buy the right ones. And at Mission Winners, we try to teach what to look for, and it really helps us. Here we go. Oil services, that's been doing pretty good. Could be involved in energy services stocks. Now, it's a little extended now, but you can see, look at the trend up the ADMA. That's beautiful. Look at the weekly advance. And I was telling you a while ago, hey, maybe look into some energy service stocks, or even simpler, you could just buy OIH and be happy. I'm not saying buy it now, but just pointing that out. Continue onwards. Pharmaceuticals, stay away. I mean, look at the trend up. You do this, and you go, that looks pretty dang sloppy. Tells me one thing. I'm staying away from pharmaceutical stocks, drug stocks for right now. That's simple. That's it. Don't overthink it. That's what it is. Move on. That'll really help you. QLD, This fell on heavy volume on Thursday. It came back on decent volume, but still less volume than it fell on. This needs to show a little bit more power, okay, in NASDAQ 100. Same thing's true with QOQ, QQQ. Retailing, dropping here. What does that say? Be careful with retailing. Silvers, now that's hanging in pretty darn good. And it has been acting decent up through here. Somebody says, oh, maybe we should buy some silver stocks. There you go. I'm not saying buy it now, but this guides you. This base here, it's a big cup and a handle on the weekly, and it lifted off. And look at the volume pickup. You prepared for it and said, maybe I could buy either SLV, you could just buy the ETF, or see what they own. I'm not saying buy it now, though, because it's a little extended. There we go. At Mission Winners, we're always looking for ways to make money, and we're always making sure that we can do the best to control risk. Steel stocks, kind of chopping around, but not a lot of power at this point in time. Semiconductors has a base right here, but it needs to lift off. And note, 2 days ago, it rallied up, opened up, gapped up, and closed near the lows on a pickup in volume. It needs to take out this line, and it needs to do it on volume. Until then, be careful with semiconductor stocks. That's simple. S&P 500, this is very telling. First, it fell on the weekly, but look at what it did on the daily. It fell on heavy volume on Thursday, and it came back, but it came back on less volume. It just says, be a little cautious. Be a little cautious here. Don't get reckless. We want to. Here's what we want to see. I've already drawn the line for our members. We want to take out that line. At Mission Winners, we make videos every day on what to look for. Same thing's true with SSO. Be a little cautious. Solar, look at this. Look at the weekly. You know what that's saying? Stay away. Small caps, they're underperforming. You can see this. Not a lot of power here. Really didn't lift much on Friday. What does that say? Be careful with small caps. Done. Move on. Oil. I like this base on oil. What I'd love to see it form a little handle here and then take off. I'm not saying it's going to, but picture this. It's made a big move just to get up to the pivot price here. Could be prone to some selling. Move on. Consumer discretionary, sloppy, nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. Aerospace, defense, sloppy, leave it alone. By the way, I'll take it a step further. On the weekly, this is why we do what we do. Fell on a pickup in volume. Be cautious. Continue onwards. Biotechnology, leave it alone. There's nothing to do with it. Home builders, it's kind of sloppy here. Really not much to do with it. Leave it alone for this point in time. Materials, they're hanging in okay, but not a really clean and simple base right here. And here's a classic example of why we look at weeklies. Look at this long base. I'll do something to help. We're going to take this off. And it's not, we don't have to overthink it. Just connect the tops. It's kind of a flat line. That's it. It pierced it a little bit and then backed off. But it touched it here, it touched it here, it touched it here and here and here. Ran up and backed off. Touches it right here. Then it finally lifts off here. Isn't that neat? Simple bases. What is happening here when bases are forming? Most people never really contemplate this. It's a tug of war between buyers and sellers. That's what charts are doing. They're showing a representation of the buyers and sellers tug of war. Finally, one side overcomes the other and the issue is resolved and it pushes through. You'd like to see it push through on heavier volume. That would help. But that's exactly what charts are. Charts are a reflection of human emotions. Fear, greed, panic, complacency. And it's reflected in the charts. One of my degrees is in psychology, and I'm not saying I'm the wizard with it. I'm not. But again, charts are a reflection of those emotions. When you understand that and apply it, you'll make better investing decisions and more money. And be safer too. Never argue with price. Communications is steadily trending. It's kind of sloppy though. It's a little slower, okay? Some distribution in there, and you can see some distribution in the weekly. And there was a tail bar here on Thursday, so just, it's okay, but you know, no real clean entry there. Energy, steadily trending nicely on the weekly and the daily. Look at that, isn't that great? And it's told you, way back here when it's marching up the ADMA, you can say, hey, there's some volume. Look at the gap up on that bar right there. You can say, I think I'm gonna buy a little bit. There you go. And it's just trending. I wouldn't say buy it now, but it would have said, you know, 4 weeks ago, maybe looking at some energy stocks. Continue onwards. Financials are just kind of chopping around here. Fell on fairly heavy volume. Came back. Not a lot of strength at this point in time. Industrials basing just needs to go across these tops right here. Till it does, be cautious. There's distribution on this bar and there's distribution on this bar. Just point it out for you folks. Technology's lagging. Look at this. Fell on pretty heavy volume right there. Needs to start picking up again. Had a nice trend on the weekly, but now it's a little choppier here. Just err to the side of caution. Consumer staples, stay away. That's it. Look what it's doing. Team, there's real power in what I just said. It's great to know areas to look into, and it's just as powerful to know areas to avoid. Limited amount of time, limited amount of money. We try to use both wisely at Mission Winners. Let's continue onward. Healthcare, stay away. Move on. Consumer discretionary, sloppy, no leadership there. Be careful with that. Metals and mining's acting okay. There you go. You could look into some of those. And there was some buying in there too. Let's continue onwards. Excuse me. Let me get rid of that. Energy, oil and gas. Look at this trend up the ADMA. Is that beautiful? Folks, I will tell you, and I taught this for years at IBD meetups, buy right, leading stocks, leading groups, and ride trends. Ride trends. Who knows where it's going to go? If you sell all of it, you've limited your profits. Don't limit profits, limit losses. You can sell some to guarantee a profit, and it also relieves psychological stress, and let it work. Who knows where it's going to go? Watch it, continue to watch it, but this works. XRT, retailing, there's not a lot of power. I mean, look at this steadily trending, going up. You look at this and you go, that's not so good. Stay away. Done. Here we go. Software is kind of sloppy here, folks. A lot of tail bars wiggling around. Be a little cautious with software. Move on. IBD 50, not a lot of power there. Not a lot of power at this point in time. MAXLIST is my favorite list of stocks. I developed this, oh gosh, the last century with a few additions and deletions. First one is Apple. Weekly on the left, daily on the right. What does it tell us? Well, the weekly doesn't look so good and there's some distribution. Daily doesn't look so good. There's some distribution there too, as you can see in here. And this is something I taught at the IBD meetups for years. The air is better above a rising 50-day. I know, so, oh, that sounds corny. No, it's the honest to goodness truth. Things are better above the rising 50-day. This is a little sloppy right now. Just says be careful with it, okay? Not a lot of power there. You can see it on the daily. You can see it on the weekly. Let's continue onwards. Amazon. Look at the compare and contrast. Well, that's kind of fallen. Oh, look, that doesn't look too bad. It's been steadily trending. As you can see, something to take into consideration, something to look at. It's showing strength, and it has shown strength. There we go. Let's move on. Alibaba, there's nothing. You go to the daily and say it's kind of chopping around. Then you look at the weekly and go, that's in a downtrend. I got to leave it alone for right now. Done. Same thing's true with BIDU. It's in a downtrend, choppy. Look at how choppy this is. These are called tail bars, by the way. Goes up, drops down. Goes up, drops down. Goes up, drops down. Be careful. What does it tell you? There's a seller there. It also tells you something else. Lack of conviction for continued buying. Oh, it's starting to go. It's starting to go. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. This is it. It's going. Bang. Be careful with that. Also notice, and this is very important, in Mission Winners, we don't impose our will on the stocks. We let the stocks tell us what to do. And that helps us. Let's continue onwards. Google started to go. I'll take that off right there. Started to lift on volume, and they gave it right back. Not a lot of conviction. Also notice, up on good volume, but sold off on heavier volume than it went up on. This needs to start pushing above these tops. I already have price alerts set right there, the green hash. Needs to take out those tops in a good market with good volume. Could be a candidate, something to watch. Move on. Goldman Sachs, nope. Runs up, wiggles around, and they sold it down here. This is loose. Be careful with that. It's still in an uptrend, but it is relatively loose, okay? Just be careful with that. Calm chart patterns are the best setups for making money. Clean and simple basing patterns that everybody can see increases the potential you'll make money too. And be pragmatic. Think about this. If everybody sees the pattern, because it's not a fancy pattern, does it not increase the potential that A, they see it, and B, they will buy also? Yes. And at Mission Winners, that's our edge, and we use it. Move on here, Intel. Here's the weekly, here's the dip. There's nothing there, just leave it alone. There's nothing to do with it. That's simple. MasterCard, basing right here, going across these tops here, needs to take these out with volume. Note here, you can say, oh, that's a red bar. Closed fairly strong on that bar. Fell on a slight volume pickup on this weekly bar. See that right there? Now you look at the daily, you can say, it's choppy here, okay? It needs to take out, again, this line with volume in a good market. And we have the patience and discipline to wait for it. Continue onwards. Meta. This is weekly on the left and daily on the right. And I point this one out. This is a MAXLIST stock. Folks, buy out of clean and simple bases and let them trend. Look at the base here. Look at the base here. And look at the move. There you go. Base is back in here. It works. Ride them for all they've got. Even if you bought right here, folks, we had buys right in here. Look at the base on the weekly. It lifted off. So we'll say you buy it for 340, okay? 340, 345. You're up, oh, what, 180 points? Trending. Trends pay. And we own it, and we're letting it work. Move on. This is another one. Microsoft. This is a MAXLIST stock, but it's choppier up here now. It was good here, and we owned it. And then it got wide and loose and we locked the profit in, okay? I also need to pause and share something. This is important. At Mission Winners, we don't look at 5-minute charts. We don't look at 10-minute charts. We rarely look at 30-minute charts. We might look at 30-minute charts to fine tune an entry, maybe 10-minute right near the open. We're looking for volume. After that, key on the daily charts and let them work. Let them work. And also look at the weekly. You say the weekly looks okay, but it's gotten really loose up here. You see this? Not a lot of conviction up here. Met with selling. Tells you, be careful. What do you do when you see stuff like that? You sell some into strength. That's simple. Let's move on here. Netflix. Netflix has been good to us for a while. I mean, for these I'm thankful. I'm thankful for these kinds of trends. It's just working right here. It starts to take out these tops with volume. Volume came into it a little bit on Friday. Start to take out these tops, that could be a new buy or an add-on. An add-on, something to watch on Netflix. Continue onwards. NVDA, I made videos on this as I've stated. Look at that clean and simple base on the weekly. Again, go back in our files. You'll see, by God, he's right. He did make videos on this before it broke out. All right? Nice long base, and note the trend. Note the trend on the daily. Have we sold some into strength several times? Yes. We bought more on the way up. And again, just looking at the weekly and the daily chart, letting it work. Good entry and trends pay. And this is for everybody. Why am I so emphatic about that statement? Because years ago, I was one of those people that would buy and say, this is pretty good. I'm up 5 points. I'm going to take the gain. And I would miss. I'd miss all this. And they all don't do this. Please, I don't want to convey that message. But some do. And it's important to let them work. Let some work for you. Okay? Nothing really to do with it at this point in time. Let's move on. Tesla's nothing. Okay, Tesla was great back here. Tesla lifting across that weekly base, that was huge. But right now, it's in a downtrend and there's nothing to do with it. People say, oh, maybe this is the bottom. Maybe. What's a more reliable method for finding a bottom? A stock falls, well, we'll do this. It falls, and then it falls again, and then it rallies up, and then it falls, and you have a higher low. This low is higher than this low, and you got a small lift on it. But right now, there's really nothing good here. Also, and this is really important, you will increase the potential for making money and also decrease the potential risk by focusing on stocks that are above a rising 50-day moving average line. It will really help you, okay? I mean, you can say, oh, look at this is going, oh, look, dang it. Just stack the deck. Stack the deck in your favor. It's a great tactic and it works. Visa, there's nothing there. There was back here, and this was great. We owned this. But right now it's choppy and sloppy, nothing to do with it. Leave it alone. That's simple.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We come up with new content nearly every day. Also, check out the videos on the right. YouTube recommends the one on the top, and the bottom one is something we thought you might enjoy. See you next time.